In this video, we're going to set up Coiled. In the common case, this is really easy. It takes 2 or 3 minutes. We're going to do that first in this video. Then, for the rest of the video, we'll handle less common cases and we'll address things that come up. So if you go to our docs and go to the Getting Started page, you'll find these 3 steps. The first step is to sign up for Coiled. Signing up is free. You can use a standard solution like GitHub or Google to authenticate, or you can create username and password. I'm going to hit GitHub. I've already done this, so it's going to take me directly to my account. You'll have to press one more button to authenticate with GitHub. You've probably done this with other services before. Great, you're here now. We're going to close this tab and go back to our documentation. The second step is to install Coiled and authenticate. So I'm going to pip install or const install Coiled and some other Dask things. And that's going to finish in 10 seconds or so. Then what we're going to do is we're going to run Coiled login. So this is going to install a CLI command, Coiled, which has a subcommand login, and that is going to create an API token and then send that API token to the Coiled web service. So I'm going to verify that these 2 tokens are the same. It looks like they are. So I'm going to hit authorize access. And what that does is that produces an API token and stores it securely on my local hard drive. This is the token that tells Coiled to trust my computer. If I move this YAML file to a different computer, that computer will also be trusted. Or I can run Coiled login on the other computer too. So great. The Coiled web service now trusts my computer. I'm going to go ahead and close this tab as well, go back to our documentation, down to the third and last step. So I now need to connect the Coiled web service to my cloud account. Remember, Coiled runs inside of your cloud account. You have to have a cloud account for Coiled to work for you. If you don't have that, just go and find the AWS or GCP free tier. You can sign up. It's pretty easy. So Coiled runs on AWS or on GCP, and you can run either with automatic setup, which we recommend. This will create things like a VPC and security groups for you. Or if you have existing VPCs you want to use, you can use other approach. I run with automatic setup and on AWS. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to press enter. And this is going to use AWS credentials that are on my local machine to set up Coiled. So a few things to note. So this is going to use my credentials to grant Coiled a role that allows it to do things like create and destroy EC2 instances or VMs, to create and destroy log groups, to inspect Docker images that it creates, those sorts of things. It will not grant Coiled any access to your data. This is really important for data privacy. We can create and destroy compute resources, but we can't touch your data. A lot of people like that. Second, we're not going to create any resources in this step that will cost you any money. So you can press enter safely here and know that 6 months from now, you're not going to get a surprise bill, either from us or from your cloud provider. So I can see here the information. It's targeting a certain AWS account, and it's using a certain IAM role. Your view might look a little bit different. I've done this before, and so my view looks a little different, but it'll be the same process. I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to go ahead and start that process for me. This will take 20 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe a bit longer for you. But it's doing all the work of setting things up. And we're going to wait here for those 10 seconds. Great, it's done. Congratulations, you've completed the Coiled setup process. You are good to go. That was everything. I'm going to run a quick sanity check. I'm going to run Coiled run echo hello world. And this is just like the simplest possible computation you could do with Coiled. This is going to create a single VM in your cloud account. It's then going to copy all of your Python packages up to that VM, all of your AWS credentials up to that VM. It's going to run a simple program, echo hello world. Then it's going to shut down that VM. So super simple sort of sanity check, just to make sure that everything's working correctly. So again, there's a chain of trust between my computer and Coiled, and being Coiled in the cloud that allows my computer to launch jobs inside of my cloud account very easily. I can now go and I can take a look at my account, and I can see that, yep, that job is starting now, and it's, it'll scale up in about a minute and run. I'm actually not going to wait until that runs. I'm going to close it down and we'll go on to some other things. So I've canceled and this will hit stopping for a second. So great. Okay, so what are some things that might have occurred that might get in the way? So again, we've done the setup process, fantastic. If you're in that common case, you're done. You can stop watching this video now. We're now going to go through a bunch of other less common cases. So the first thing that might occur is in that setup process, your cloud account might not have enough quota. Amazon or GCP might not trust you to run larger jobs. The default quota for new accounts is usually 32 CPUs, which often isn't enough for a lot of larger workloads people use with Coiled. If that happens, you'll actually be prompted here at this stage to enter in some new values if you want. I'm going to just demonstrate that here quickly. So you can trigger that process yourself with Coiled setup AWS quotas. And that will query AWS and tell you what your current quotas look like. And then it will give you the opportunity to change them. So I've got 10,000 on-demand instances or CPUs. That sounds great. I've only got 3,100 virtual CPUs for Spot. Maybe I want 10,000 there. So Coiled is now going to go ahead and submit that request on my behalf. For GPUs, I'm fine. I'm just going to enter. Great. So again, if you're starting with a new, fresh account, you might be prompted to change some values. I recommend asking for 1,000 virtual CPUs, something like that. The second thing that might occur is that you might not have local Amazon credentials. So I'm going to go ahead and simulate that by removing my AWS config directory. And now when I run Coiled setup AWS, it will notice that I don't have those credentials, and it will instead instruct me to go to my AWS console. So I'm going to do that here by clicking on this link. I'm going to sign in to Amazon. And I think in my particular account, I've got to switch to this different role. This probably doesn't apply to you. It's loading up Cloud Shell, and it's just giving me a terminal that I can operate in that does have my Amazon credentials attached to it. So that's great. I can go and I can copy this text. I can paste it in here. Amazon is prompting me, hey, are you sure you want to copy and paste this? Yes, I do want to copy and paste. Now I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to just, again, install things, and it will do the login thing, and then it'll go through the same process we just went through. So again, this is the exact same process we just did, but it's in an environment that is guaranteed to have the right Amazon credentials, which might just be easier if you don't have local credentials saved. Other things that might occur. So going back to the documentation, I mentioned that you might be in a situation where you have custom VPCs you need to use or other networking that your organization cares about. If you're in this situation, I'm going to point you to a different user flow. If you go to your Coiled account, you go to Cloud Provider, there's a different way in which you can set up. If you go to this Cloud Provider link, there'll be different information here that allows you to set things up. Eventually, you'll be faced with a page like this, which allows you to set things like a VPC or security groups manually. This is very useful, again, if you're in a more secure situation where you want to reuse some existing infrastructure inside of your organization. But I'm going to keep it Coiled managed. I like the things that Coiled sets up. That's good for me. Another thing that might exist is that you might want to run Coiled not from your machine, but from an automated service, like a CI job or a Cloud Notebook service. You can run something like Coiled login with a token afterwards if you want to. You can also construct a token, an API token, and store it either with a CLI or with environment variables or with a YAML file. This comes up a lot again as people try to use Coiled within more automated services. We find that environment variables are quite common. So you can go to that YAML file that you have stored, and you can grab that token, put it here, and then store this as environment variable wherever you like, in whatever system you're using. Finally, you might want to give this same access to teammates of yours. So you've done a lot of the work of setting up your cloud accounts, and you might want to share this with your team. So your team members are going to need to do two things. They'll need to sign up with, again, GitHub or Google, or create username and password. And they're going to need to log in. They're going to need to create an API token, but they're not going to need to connect to the cloud account. You've already done that hard work for them. If you want, you can go to the Team tab, Add Member, and you can put in their Coiled username or even just their email address. And in that case, they'll receive an email kind of like this one, where they're prompted to create an account. They'll be attached to your account by default, and you'll see their workloads show up in the same place where your workloads are. As an example, I can go to a team that I'm on that someone else set up for me, and I can see what other people inside of my organization have been doing. And so here's me. I was playing around a couple hours ago. My colleague James was playing on this recently. And there's lots of other users inside of this account, and we can all see each other's work. So that's how to set up, and a few different caveats that come up. Maybe one more thing I'll mention. Coiled works on AWS. It also works on GCP. The GCP flow is very similar. It's going to use gcloud to set up. I guess I don't have gcloud installed here, so we're going to prompt you on how to install it based on the system that you have deployed. But again, Google works much the same way. So hopefully this is an easy process for you. Give it a shot and let us know how it goes. Thanks.